It was during these middle years for Grant that we spent a great deal of time down at the farm in the fall with Grant and his friends. There's Nick and Luke, the Kalen Festival, and there they are down at the swamp, the Ogeechee. And there we are at the shooting range under careful supervision, where I found a rough green snake over in the smilax vines behind me. And there's old Nick with that year's favorite color going on. Yep, back in the classroom we were busy feeding our fans. On the way to Carrollton, we stopped in Mapleton so I could visit with my favorite friend, J Squared, and we celebrated Thanksgiving in Carrollton, where the ladies posed in front of Mama's portrait. We went out to the pool and sized each other up, both front ways and back ways, being funny, you know. Then it was on to Sandersville, where we visited with the majestic red pussycat and sat out on the back porch of 210 South Smith Street. I had to go investigate the bamboo that year. And here we are making sausage. 2011 was the year of Living United and Got Bullets and Oxford. And Mary's boys came to join us this year. Maggie's shirt was about big guns, and I was wearing a pair of those button-fly Levi's that I had gotten from Newsome back in the 80s. But Kathleen, to me, was always the most stylish dresser. And there's Ella Grace, smashing balls, at about the same age that her mama did, with her flat chest, you know. And since I was teaching anatomy and cells and tissues and organs, I have to do a little anatomy lesson with everyone. We always weighed the meat before we mixed the spices. Frank Cummings's sausage recipe was first shared with us in January of 1976. It begins: fresh pork, 25 pounds, consisting of 2 whole shoulders and a side. Thanksgiving 2012 was celebrated in Hamburg at David and Catherine's house, where we worked hard to stay warm and entertain Mary's boys. And like I said, Kathy was always styling, while Jim was always goofing. That was the era of Live United, where Newsome was on the board of directors for United Way in Dawsonville. Hard work all morning, play hard all afternoon, down at the farm, with Grace steering up the pot. That year, I believe it was Brunswick stew with the leftover pork stock, and the 40-acre field was planted in cotton. This was 2013, where we introduced Riakeem to sausage making, and sunsets through the pine trees, and icicles in the 40-acre field. I love this picture. They had graduated from Oxford and were at Emory, and Lily's wearing her Rockbrook t-shirt. Betty Smith was with us, helping take care of Miss Jo, and we made a record amount of sausage that year. With great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, we made enough sausage to feed everyone in need. That was taken out of the Lorax, you know. If I'm remembering correctly, the most we ever made at one time was 150 pounds of Frank Cummings sausage. Here's Riakeem mixing the spices with the chunks of meat in the copper kettle. And there are Frank and Joe with 2 of their grandchildren. 2013 was the year we cleaned up the farm. That's a beautiful sulfur butterfly. In 2014, we got together and made Cummings sausage over the Thanksgiving weekend. It was a bit more somber than usual because Miss Jo was in a nursing home. I was struggling through the last 80 days of teaching in the classroom. The administration at North Hall Middle School had come down hard on me that fall, and there was nothing I could do about it except seek guidance and comfort from my friends. 2015 was the first year we made sausage without Miss Jo. And Grant brought his friend from Kansas when he was at McPherson, Miles, to help make sausage with us. I retired in February. Miss Jo passed away in March. Grant graduated in May. And Grace and Riakeem got married in September. 2015 was what I call a turning point year. We took care of Mr. Frank to the best of our ability. Newsom and I got to tell stories about our adventures on the Oasis of the Sea, the first cruise I've ever been on. It was also the first time I'd ever snorkeled. That year, I used a plant app to find out that this was sesame seeds in the 40-acre field in front of the farmhouse. What a remarkable year. I created this picture page from the files of Miss Jo Cummings, educator of gifted young people.